Hi guys, and welcome back to Rachel's Enchanting Cakes. Using just 3 popular piping tips, I'm going to show you how to pipe these under the sea themed cupcakes with ease. Everything you need to know in a simple step-by-step format. Excellent if you are a beginner. Starting with this one, very simple to achieve. A simple shell-like effect. I'm going to show you how to fill the piping bag and use it, and then we've added a chocolate shell. Here again, very simple to achieve, using just 2 piping nozzles on this, and both very popular ones. Finally, moving on to the last cupcake. As you can see, all simple but really effective. Let's make a start. Taking your freshly baked cupcakes, start by covering them with some of the white buttercream. You can find the recipe for this on my channel, and a link for it is in the description below this video. By covering the cupcake, you are protecting it from the air, but you're also preventing the colour of the cupcake from showing through where we don't add any buttercream whilst we are piping. The only other colour used in this content is Sky Blue by Rainbow Dust. You can make this as deep of a blue as you want to. For the first cupcake, we will be using the Wilton 4B nozzle, which looks just like this. You want to start by taking a disposable piping bag, and all we are going to do is cut off the end. This will then allow us to actually feed the nozzle directly into the bag. You then simply thread it directly through the piping bag, and if there's a little bit on the end that still needs to be cut away, just trim it down a small amount at a time, just until the piping nozzle fits in perfectly. You then want to place the piping bag directly into a tall glass and simply wrap the disposable bag around the outsides. This will give you more control. Now, in order to get that seashell effect where we've got two-toned, what you want to do is fill half of the piping bag with a lighter shade of the blue that we coloured at the beginning of this tutorial, and then the other half with the darker shade. And depending at the angle that you choose to pipe with will depend on the result coming out of the actual piping bag. But you don't need any special equipment. You see how easy this is? Just take your time. It does not have to be perfect. And remember to push as much of that buttercream to the bottom as possible, just to avoid air bubbles. With the dark blue facing the front and the lighter blue facing the back, it will give this lovely effect where you have the lighter blue on the sides and the dark blue bang on top. You just want to gently squeeze the piping bag from the middle, going to the outside, and whilst you continue to squeeze, come back and stop. It really is as simple as that. Tip: I then refrigerate this just for a few minutes to avoid damage to the layer that I have just piped, just in order to firm up that buttercream before we add some more. Starting in the centre again, gently squeeze the piping bag, go forward and then pull back. Don't worry about the space on the bottom because we're going to be adding some sprinkles and a seashell next. It really is as simple and as easy as this. Don't worry if you do not have a mould in your collection, because these cupcakes look just as stunning with some sprinkles. Here I have some pink and blue sprinkles. I have got some ready-made chocolate drip, and we're simply going to make a few seashells, and I'm going to apply them directly to the cupcake. So these chocolate drips are really handy. You just melt them in the microwave. They can be melted over and over again, and it's a perfect consistency. I simply just squeeze these directly into certain areas of the mould and then leave them to set. Whilst our chocolate is in the fridge, we are going to start on our second cupcake. This time you want one of the colours on one side and the other colour on the other side. This will just give you a slightly different effect when piping. We're going to pipe exactly the same as we did with the first one. Can you see how it's half and half? So you want to start in the center, squeeze, go to the end, come back and stop squeezing. A very simple technique. We are using the same piping bag as we did in the first cupcake, but we've got a completely different effect. The next piping nozzle we are using is the super popular 1M that looks just like this. I have placed it in the piping bag, this time with white buttercream. Starting where the shells are, gently squeeze, and then you want to wriggle your piping bag from left to right. Be sure that you touch the outer edge of the actual cupcake wrapper. How simple but effective was that? For the final cupcake, again using the 1M, simply go from left to right in a slow motion. This time you want to cover exactly half of the cupcake. So it's very similar to what we have just done, but instead of going at an angle, we are just going from left to right, directly down half of this. The final piping tip is the Wilton 2A. However, due to the simple shape, you could easily cut the end off a piping bag if you do not own this nozzle. I have filled this with the blue that we have previously used, and then again doing a left to right motion just on the other half of the cupcake, trying to get to the edge of the wrapper. I simply finish off the final piping work, and just look at that. Simple, easy, but effective. So all I did then was add the chocolate shells and all the different accents that I had made a little bit earlier in this tutorial. Off camera, I chose to add some sprinkles. Remember, it does not matter if you do not have a shell mold, because the sprinkles just make it come to life. But the point being, you have just used 3 very basic piping nozzles to create these beautiful under the sea themed cupcakes. They are not difficult to use, excellent if you are a beginner baker, and remember, you can actually get away with piping these with just 2 nozzles, because where the 2A comes in, due to the very basic round shape, if you just cut the end off a disposable piping bag, you can get the same effect. Simple, easy, however, they look complicated. So thank you all again for your amazing continued support, and I'll be back soon with an awful lot more new, completely free content.